What's up everyone? Thanks for tuning in today to what's going to be a tutorial using some new products. Most of these, it's not going to be a first impressions. Almost all of these things I've been using for like the past week, 2 weeks, so I have a pretty good idea of what I like or don't like. Do I even not like? I don't think I don't like anything about these. It's a pretty good batch of products, I have to say. Some new eyeshadow palettes that I'll talk about that are pretty new to me. I haven't really had a chance to use them on my eyes yet, but we'll talk about that. Let's just get started. Okay, so on the base, let's start with the face. I bought the Huda Beauty Glowish Multi-Dew Skin Tint. The shade I bought was number 4 Light Medium, and I also bought the Glowish Soft Radiance Bronzing Powder. I got a number 4 Light Medium in the Multi-Dew Skin Tint and a number 2 Medium in the bronzer. Bronzer's perfect. The skin tint is a tad too deep for me, so unfortunately I have all but the first time I used this and realized it was too deep for me, I have had to mix it with my Milk Sunshine Skin Tint, and which, by the way, is in the shade also light medium. Very, very off as far as the colors go. The Milk is a little bit too light for me. Huda Beauty's a little too deep, so the two of them together is the perfect match. And the funny thing is, they're very similar formulas. I mean, as the name suggests, both of them are soft skin tints. They give you really super dewy glows. The way I mix them is on the back of my hand. I give like 2 pumps here, you can see on the Milk, and I just do like a pump of the Huda and then disperse what I can from the ball tip applicator here of the Milk. I mean, look at the difference in the colors of those two. For two products that say they are light medium, they are so dramatically different in shade. So, but luckily the two of them together is a great match for me. The brush that I'm going to use, I actually bought both of the Glowish brushes that Huda Beauty has as well. And actually, I mean, like I kind of spoiled it at the head of the video, really like them. The Airbrush Finish Face Brush. Is this even supposed to be used? Yeah, this is the All Over Bronze, the All Over Finish Face. I'm assuming it's supposed to be used with liquid. It's what I've been using it with, and I've been really liking it because it's a pretty dense fan here at the base, you can see, and then it really thins out at the top. So I find it's been pretty nice at applying a good amount of product, but still buffing and blending it in. And there's something about the more sparse density of the bristles up here that just kind of keeps things light and fresh feeling. It doesn't pile it on too heavy. I find it spreads and smooths the product around, keeping it looking natural, not piling it up in any one place, but still also not leaving me with brush strokes, which I sometimes feel like this is very close to a dual fiber foundation brush, which I feel like everyone back in the day when YouTube, like beauty YouTube was first starting, used to use, and I did too, until I realized I didn't love them so much because they would leave like streaks on my skin. You know what I mean? I prefer a more dense, fluffy buffing brush instead. But the nice thing about it is that because it is relatively sheer and buildable, I don't find a shade mismatch is quite as dramatic as if, say, I was using something more full coverage like, you know, the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Luminous Matte or even her stick foundation. You know what I mean? So this, even though the shade match is a little bit off, it has a little bit more give because it is so sheer. Yet, I mean, at the same time, they are pretty buildable. Like, look at how that's evened out my skin tone. I feel like I still get my skin's natural texture, just kind of punched up a notch with some glow and radiance, and yet, you know, I get a little bit of coverage. Plus, when I pile on all the other stuff I'm about to put on top, it ends up being a pretty full coverage kind of base. So hopefully you can see, I know I combined the two formulas, so it's hard to get an idea of the Huda Beauty Glowish by itself, but just trust me when I say it is so similar to the Milk Skin Tint. So to the extent you find like your shade match in Huda, or you just like the formula better, it's almost identical in my opinion to the coverage and the finish, just really natural and glowy. And I find once I layer all my additional stuff on, the bronzer, the powder, just the blush, the rest of the makeup, it comes out looking and feeling almost like a full face of foundation. You know what I mean? So this has been what I've been really loving and wearing every day anytime I wear makeup lately. It's just this light coverage. I am going to go in with a more full coverage concealer though, the Huda Beauty Overachiever Concealer, and mine is in the shade Coconut Flakes. I really wish, I love how with the Huda Beauty, she kept the shades consistent across like the liquid and the stick, so I knew I am toasted coconut across the board. And because the Glowish is a more narrow shade range, the same parallels aren't there, so it was just a little bit harder to find my match. But I probably should have known that by picking up the soft number 2 in the bronzer, which is a perfect match, I should have known that the number 4 in the Glowish would be too deep for my skin. So I'm just applying a touch of this. I know it looks like a lot, but I tend to dispense like a teensy little bit here and then use the applicator to smooth it out because it's a metal applicator and it's really nice and cooling, especially in allergy season. It's just like really relaxing and like depuffing in my under eye area. So I kind of use this to blend it out halfway without applying too much before going in with a brush. I'm gonna go back in with this guy and just pat that out so I don't spread it and diffuse it too much, because I really just want that coverage in my under eye area. And then maybe whatever's left over on the brush, like down the center of my face. Okay, so now because I have combo skin, oily down the center, and it can develop into a hot mess, especially now that it is 100 degrees outside. We had like an extended spring here in Texas, and now summer is back with a vengeance. It is hot, and I need to make sure my skin is prepared. So when I wear something, especially like these foundations that are dewy, glowy goddess kind of situations, put a little insurance on my face afterwards with some powder. This is the Range Beauty Smooth Out Translucent Setting Powder, and mine is in the shade Medium. I use the same brush for my foundation. Yes, it is still wet. I don't care. Is it bad form? Maybe. Does it work for me? Yeah. And it minimizes the amount of dirty brushes I have, so what are you gonna do? And that, again, I really just keep to the parts where I really want to prevent my makeup from breaking down. Center of my face, super lightly, chin, above the lip, center of the nose, and like forehead. And I'm just using a super light amount. The heaviest I use is in my under eye area. And you all know, I hate putting powder in my under eye area because it makes me look 104. So super light, just enough to keep my makeup from breaking down, and really not at all around the perimeter of my face or the tops of my cheekbones, because I want to keep that natural glow that the foundations are giving me. Okay, now for the bronzer, or the Soft Radiance Bronzing Powder, which, like I said, I also have the brush to go along with it. This brush is nice. It's pretty dense for a bronzer. Normally I would take something a little bit more, you know, diffused like this to get a really broad application of bronzer. But I do tend to like this, and part of why I think that is, specifically with this product, is this shade is just perfect for me. I guess let me show you what I mean when I apply it. There's a pearlescent finish to it that I feel like is very forgiving. It doesn't come off as like a shiny disco ball sort of bronzer or contour, but there's something about that satin's probably a better word. I don't want you to think that this is like, you know, super shiny. A satin finish to it that's very forgiving on the skin. It helps you maintain that radiance. And because this is such a good shade match for me, it's just like 1 to 2 shades deeper than my skin. And so a dense brush like this, I really actually can kind of layer on the product and blend it out without it feeling like it's getting too harsh. And like I said, when you look at all the places that I'm about to apply powder between my setting powder, this bronzing powder, the blush, you know, everything, it ends up being and feeling like a pretty full face of makeup. So here's the bronze side, here's the non-bronze side, really subtle difference, still a radiant glow, but just a little bit, you know, like, bronzed. I'm gonna skip blush until we do the eyes because I'm not quite sure what I wanna do on the eyes yet. Gonna do brows. Brows are like the new boring to me. You know, I hate putting on mascara. It's like the most boring part of the makeup process. Brows have become like that for me. So I'm just gonna skip right past these, but if you like what you see, I'm using the Makeup Geek Dark Brown Brow Liner. Okay, those are the brows done. This is a really nice brow pencil, by the way. It came I bought it in a duo with the brow pencil, brow liner versus brow pencil. I'm not exactly sure how you're supposed to use these two together. I, so far, have just used the brow liner. It's a really nice thin pencil, but still has like a thick, waxy consistency. So it does what I love in a brow product, which is tint, but also shape and kind of tame and fluff. That extra like thickness in the pencil kind of adds some volume to the brow hairs that it makes its way onto, which I really like. Now, let's talk about eyeshadow. So I'm so excited about this. Recently made a reel on Instagram swatching all of these. Sydney Grace, who you know I love for their powder shadows, originally discovered and started loving them for their liquid/cream shadows. They're phenomenal if you haven't used them. Sydney Grace partnered with Temptalia, Christine from Temptalia, to make a trio, let's show the pretty side, trio of palettes that like Sydney Grace has been doing with their palettes lately. They are making both light and deep versions. So they sent me in PR the light versions of the 3 trios, and I'm so excited about them. So first of all, can I do this without making a complete fool of myself? Basically, these 3 palettes, the artwork on the outside is so cool. They join together to make one consistent piece of artwork. Is that doing anything for anyone? I hope so. It's one consistent piece of artwork. I hope you can see that. Then on the inside of each of the palettes kind of reflect the piece of the picture that is represented on the outside. And so what I mean by that is like this one, space, galaxies. It's called the Quintessence palette. And on the inside, according to the press information, it says this is, paraphrasing, a constellation of vivid tones and otherworldly finishes. And that, I think, is exactly what this is. Those beautiful, rich blues, purples, and greens that are, you know, you can see them here on the outside of the palette, and some really fun textures that I hope you'll be able to see once I get you really in close with the swatches here. Then the next palette is On the Horizon, and it is, it's the horizon. It's literally where like the sky meets the sea, and appropriately, these are more grounded colors, like more earth tones. I think she calls them grounded, grungy neutrals, and I think that is the perfect way to describe this color palette. When I described it in my stories the other day, to me, this is like your new nudes, your new everyday sort of palette, because you get your, kind of muted earth tones, but you still get some colorful shades in here. I think today I'm gonna use this palette and use like some of the greens and things like that. But it just puts, I think, a nice twist on sort of an everyday comfort zone sort of palette with the classic Sydney Grace textures and multi-chromatic shades and things like that. Then the last palette, this one is called Radiant Reflection, and here we dive into the ocean. And this is supposed to be like an ode to gem tones, which I think we can agree she pretty much hit the nail on the head. And what I really like about all of these palettes, and she actually says is the point behind them, is that you can have one palette, 2 of them, all of them, they are all meant to be mixed, matched, and worn together. You don't need all of them. So like say you really just want more of a daytime appropriate, you find that's what you wear the most, then the On the Horizon palette might be the one for you. But if you are a gem tone junkie, then you're gonna want the Radiant Reflection one, something more like this. So now I'm gonna scoot closer, and like I said, I'm going to use, like I said, the On the Horizon palette, and I'd like to stick to the kind of greens, or at least start with a green base here, except in my crease, I am gonna first go in with this shade, October Odyssey, which is a matte, kind of a dusty rose shade in here. And I'm first gonna do my right eye. I think I'm gonna do my left eye, film that one for Instagram tutorials that I try and post. Well, haven't been great on YouTube or Instagram recently, but I'm trying to get better about posting Instagram tutorials more frequently. So if you go follow me over there, you will see a few more looks that you probably haven't seen here on YouTube, just in case you want like a little dash of makeup in your day, because I probably am not uploading here. I'm trying to get better, I promise. So this is just going on a fluffy crease brush, and I'm taking that pretty high up. This is gonna be like my blending shade that I'm gonna use underneath that green to really help smoke and blow it out like I really want to. So I'm kind of taking this everywhere, not being shy with this shade, including, by the way, that includes under my lower lash line, by the way, with a slightly more precise, kind of like a fluffy pencil brush. This one's from Esum. It is their V31 brush, like that. Now using a clean brush, I'm going in with that matte green shade called Desert Spoon, and I'm applying that more deeply into my crease. This I am being a little bit more precise with. I don't want to go quite as crazy into the crease and onto the lid. Okay, I'm actually changing directions on this look. Still taking that green shade, but I've decided I'm going to pack it and build it on this outer corner as well as on my inner corner. I'm doing a halo look with this because I want to sandwich the lighter green shade in the center of my lid. That lighter green, by the way, is called Earthbound, and I'm gonna take that on a flat shader brush and pat that in the center of my lid. Oh yeah, I really like that. Then I want to add an even brighter pop right in the center of my lid, so I'm going in with the shade Magellan's Light, which is a soft, pinky, kind of coppery shade. And just, oh, ditching the brush. I'm using a finger. Using a finger and just keeping that right in the center of the lid. Yeah. Oh, that is nice. And also using those same shades from above, I'm just gonna echo like literally exactly what I did on my lower lash line. And then literally using the same exact shades from my upper lid, I am doing that to my lower lash line. Doing the green on the matte green on the inner and outer corner, and then taking Earthbound in the center. Now for a nice bright inner corner, I'm going in with the shade called Heart Dog, which is like a bright, cool, silvery white, if that's the right way to describe it. It is bright. It is shimmery. One thing I love about Sydney Gray shadows is when it comes to their metallic shades, their shimmery shades, they don't mess around with texture. They get it right. If you want your eyes to look like you drop molten metal on them, they're gonna do it for you. Okay, so I've just finished up this eye with one coat of the Makeup Geek Extension Effect mascara. Now, like I said, gonna do the other eye for Instagram. Bye! Okay, done with the eyes. Now let's move on to blush. I had to try the new, I mean, I didn't have to, but you know what I mean. Wanted to try the new Pat McGrath blushes, and she has a set on her website, a couple sets on her website of trios of these blushes. And so I picked up the one that has Nude Venus. This is a soft satiny peach. They all have, I think, kind of a soft satin, like buttery sort of texture to them. Buttery peach. Then there is Divine Rose, which I'm sure you can guess is a satiny matte dusty rose. And then the last one is Nymphette, which is actually, wait, how? This looks very similar to Divine Rose. This looks a little brighter, maybe like even a hybrid of Divine Rose and Nude Venus. It's like not quite as cool as Rose. Let's compare them side by side. Yeah, so here I have Nymphette in the middle. It is the lightest of the three, and so it's not quite as deep or pink or cool as Divine Rose over here, and certainly not as peachy and warm as Venus Nude, which is over here. So with the look that I am wearing today, I think I'm actually going to stick to Nymphette, something really soft and light with these dramatic eyes I have going on. So I'm just gonna take a big, fluffy brush in this guy and start, ooh, they pack a punch. This is soft, but like, I mean, these are incredibly pigmented, and that's part of why I want to try them, is because all of her marketing, her promotional materials, I love the Pat McGrath aesthetic, but every time she would show these, applying these to anyone, the pigmentation would just be out of this world. So yeah, that, needless to say, that is certainly the case with these. And like I said, I think they're supposed to be entirely matte, but I think they have a really super soft and subtle satin finish that just makes them more forgiving on skin texture. It keeps your skin from looking like too dry and crepey like some matte powders can. There's just like a subtle softness to these that makes them not quite matte, in my opinion, and I love them. So last, well, not quite last up, but last for the face, highlighter. I have actually been using and trying the new Makeup Geek Skin Brilliance Facial Elixir. I have a lot of new Makeup Geek here because, believe it or not, I do want to have quite a few one brand face videos out there soon, where I kind of go through as many products in a brand as I can on my face to kind of talk about what I love and what I don't. So I placed a Makeup Geek order, which is why I have quite a few Makeup Geek products in this video, and I picked this up right after it launched. This is basically like a pink tinted base / skincare item. It's meant to be used under or over your makeup, either like as a priming fluid. You can see it has just the most subtle pink hue to it. Or you can use it as a highlighter, which is what I have been using lately because the base, this and the Huda Beauty are so dewy. I don't want to put this on underneath just in case it goes like it's out of control dewy, you know, wouldn't want that. But just over the top, it creates this really lovely pink hued dewy sheen. And when I say pink, it is so subtle because you can see when it's sheared out here, I mean, it is basically nothing. And you can see when it's, you know, on the tops of the cheeks, it is more dew than tint, but man, it just gives a really pretty, healthy tint to the cheeks. And I've worn it over peaches too, just because it is kind of a cooler pink tone. I don't think that limits you to how and where you can wear it. Unlike, say, like the M Cosmetics serum blushes, these dry down faster and more completely, I find. The serum blushes on me stay a little bit, you know, they don't get tacky, but they do stay just a little bit like soft and emollient on my skin. I can feel them on my skin a little bit. This has more of a water-like liquid base, it feels like. So it just, your skin soaks it up, and then whatever is left is the tint, the pearlescent pink tint that is in this. That's what's left sitting on your skin for this really healthy but lightweight feeling highlighter. I love the natural look it gives to the skin. And so I'm dying to try it under something that's a little bit more full coverage, like these two from Huda Beauty that I've really been liking, to see what it's like underneath the foundation, because I can imagine it just gives your skin this really beautiful, dewy, lit from within glow if you prime your whole skin with this guy. So I really like it, and I do think it kind of falls in its own category when it comes to liquid makeup, because like I said, it's not quite like the thicker consistencies of a lot of other cream products out there. It's in a texture of its own in how it just totally sinks and dries and finishes into the skin. So love that, super duper pretty. Last, let's finish up with some lipstick. I have the Sigma Infinity Point lipstick in the shade Deja Vu. Have not used these yet. I picked up a couple new things from Sigma. Well, these aren't new. They're new to me. They're not new, period. But I figured this would be a nice nude to complement the bold look I have going on in my eyes. And this is kind of interesting. It's a very loose, twisty up thing here we have going on. However, I'm finding that, I don't know if you can see this, it has kind of a tear, the actual, I'll do a close-up. The actual shape around the lipstick bullet itself has a teardrop shape, and when I try and balance my finger on it for like easier application, it moves. It doesn't really stay in place, so it kind of throws me off my balance. But the texture of the lipstick itself is really beautiful. I mean, definitely a flattering nude for me, one that I will keep in my back pocket as a nude, because this feels like one of those nude shades that I can just pair with any look. Any dramatic eye where I'm a little nervous to play up the lips, this is gonna be a good nude lip for me. Speaking of lips, I literally, as I was filming this, got a ship notification for some Lisa Eldridge. I got some of her facial highlight and liquid / cream blushes and lipsticks that I'm so excited to try out. So look for another video coming on that soon. And then this is the final look using some of the new Sydney Grace Temptalia, one of the new Sydney Grace Temptalia palettes, and just a whole bunch of new makeup. I'd love to hear what you guys like. It seems like new lashes are not slowing down, but it seems like there has been a whole lot recently here. So I'd love to know what you've been interested. Have you been eyeing any of these things? Do you have your own list of things that you're interested in? Let us all know down in the comments below what you're into, what you picked up, what you love, what you don't love. Give us all the dirt down in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye guys.